What's up, everyone? Welcome to Dark and Twisted, a BingetownTV TV podcast. Today, we are buzzing to finally be back
Buzz.
to talk season 3, episodes 1 and 2 of Yellowjackets, titled It Girl, which I love. I didn't actually notice that until after, and I was looking up the names. I love It Girl. It's like a play on Pit Girl. And Dislocation. My name is Kathleen, and I'm joined here today with my co-hosts, Brian and Jimmy. Let's get into it. 2-episode drop. I think they did that on purpose. I think we needed 2 episodes here. But I'm going to throw this one to Brian to give his thoughts, because Jimmy and I did a season 3 hype episode, like a look at the trailer, talk about what could be coming next season. Brian famously hates trailers and previews, so he didn't come on this one. So I'm dying to know his thoughts on episodes 1 and 2. What you got?
I was very happy with episodes 1 and 2. I think I'm not alone in this thought. Season 2 seemed to be a little bit of a drop off just in terms of the blown away factor that was season 1. I mean, it was up for Emmys. It was, I think season 2 was as well, but season 1 was probably better than season 2, which usually you don't want to be trending in the wrong direction. But episodes 1 and 2 were just really, really strong for me. And I think part of that reason was, I don't even know how to articulate it, but the present day storyline kind of got away from me in season 2. I was just kind of over it. They were playing out these like, okay, they're like murdering this random guy. Now they're at the cult. Come on, something's got to happen. It was just getting a little slow. I wanted more of the girls in the woods, but I don't know. The present day plot line, they weren't even doing much of anything other than just like hanging out and dealing with the repercussions of season 2. But for whatever reason, they were just in their bag. I loved the chemistry. I was like, this just feels good. It feels right. Yeah. I love the dialogue. This is where I want them to be. And then, you know, they made quite a few choices with the woods. The 90s storyline that I enjoyed, not to mention the time skip. We're already in warm weather, so I can't believe that they're not starting us off right with the end of season 2 where the cabin burned down. But you know, I actually don't mind seeing these girls happy again in the woods. So I was just very satisfied with these first 2 episodes, and I completely agree. After it's been over what, a year and a half? When did season 2 finish? Like 2023, something like that. We deserved 2 episodes to scratch the itch, and they certainly delivered.
100%.
I agree 100%, Brian. With the present day, again, nothing crazy happened. It was, like you said, the reacting and dealing with the repercussions of the season 2 finale. We find out that it was 6 weeks later, so 6 weeks have passed. But first of all, I know you guys have said this on the podcast a million times, and I haven't gotten a chance to say this myself. I've only been on the podcast twice, I believe, when we did Yellowjackets seasons 1 and 2. Christina Ricci is just an MVP, man. I laughed so hard at her this episode, these 2 episodes. The connections, the bonding, everything between these characters in the present day really got me going. I really enjoyed it. It was really making me laugh. It was really bringing more to the 1996 things, and we'll talk about how I really think that the actors, maybe, I don't want to say like they weren't awesome in the first 2 seasons, because they really were, but I feel like they stepped it up even more so in these first 2 episodes with how they're acting, specifically like their older self, their younger self, etc. Christina Ricci, Samantha Hanratty, they're like exactly the same to me. There's so many good things. The past with the 1996 timeline, we have the Maury Pit Girl troll job to start the episode, which we'll get into, which is awesome. I freaking love that. But again, I don't want to get too into it, but I did really enjoy these first 2 episodes.
I have the hottest take of all. I'm Team Maury in these first 2 episodes over Shauna.
Oh my goodness. Well,
we spent 2 whole seasons trolling Maury. We, as a Bingetown, as a podcast, are Dark and Twisted now. We famously laughed and hated Maury, hated on her at least. And man, I'm so Team Maury. I'm like, Shauna, get it together, girl. Please. I know you've been through it, but geez.
In a TV show where everyone's pretty much crazy, Shauna is the craziest in Crazy Town, and I will always respect her and back her indefinitely. And Maury's a bully, so she doesn't have many redeemable qualities to her. So I'm not gonna say I'm in the Maury camp. I'm Shauna till I die, dude.
Me too. I would. I know. I already take it back.
It's really funny that you say that, Kathleen, because we'll get into it. I think we decided off pod we're going to do MVP, most valuable player, and buzzkill of the
Buzzkill.
episodes. So
Yeah.
we'll see who I pick and who Brian picks, and we'll see who you pick, Kathleen, and we'll decide if we're going to argue about it. But I'm Team Shauna. She's dealt with some shit. Mari's dealt with some shit too, but not even close to Shauna. And Mari is bullyish.
Mari is a bully.
I'm not on her side, but how do we want to do this? How do we want to get through this episode? Do we want to do present day? We want to do 96. How do you want to do? What do you want to do first, Kathleen?
Let's start with 96 because we'll go chronological. And since there's 2 episodes, we're just going to rip all the way through 96 and then we'll rip all the way through the present day. We're not going to divide it by episodes. We'll just try and bucket it as much as we can to keep it tight since this is 2 episodes in one podcast episode. But
yes,
yeah, let's start with the troll job of Mari getting chased around. So I assume all of us thought, quote unquote, that maybe she drew the queen. But even so, I was like, there's going to be a twist here.
Yeah.
And so Mari Pit Girl, the dreams are still alive, but not to hop all the way to the end. Her falling into the pit, which I have to assume is the pit.
Yep.
It's making me think, is she not the pit girl? Or is this foreshadowing? She knows where the pit is. Why would she fall into it again?
No. So, okay, well, let's talk about that because I don't think that's specifically the pit. I think that Coach Ben may have just taught them something that they can use in the future. I mean, maybe it's the pit, maybe it's the specific pit, and then they add the spikes and dress it all up and do exactly what Coach Ben did and try it again. But like you said, Mari knows where it is. I think that this shut the door on her being pit girl. I really do. I feel like with the troll job, I think they shut the door on it because if you go there now, unless you're really doing like a double troll job, you're going to reverse psychology me. But, who knows?
Maybe there's more than one pit.
That's what I'm saying. I think that they're going to use that strategy to make these pits in other areas of the forest. I'm
saying maybe there's more already made pits that Ben found. Okay. Because I don't think those girls can make such a beautiful deep pit. They don't have the tools to make a pit like that. I don't think they do. They
would need some shovels, so yeah.
Well, they made some pretty nice huts, so let's not underestimate what these girls can make.
Kathleen, you have the line from Taissa?
No, which one?
When cracked me up when they start giving the props for her being able to build the huts, and she's like, "Handy lesbians" or whatever.
Cheers to that.
Handy lesbians for the win. That's or my something. Girl. Yeah.
Y'all said you were a Shauna girl for life. I'm a Ty girl for life. I gotta say.
I love Ty. I love Ty and Van. And going back to my point when I was saying the actors going back and forth between their 96 and their present day, like I think Van to me. Both sides of things are just phenomenal.
100%.
We've been saying this since episode 1 of season 1. Like the casting between the young to the old girls is just flawless. They all do a great job. I was thinking like Lottie is the perfect amount of crazy in the present day timeline. They're just all fantastic.
Yep. Agreed.
Lottie in the present day timeline with Misty was making me cackle out loud. Yeah. She had a specific type of menacing goofy in her eye in episode 2. I was missing her in episode 1. I'm not gonna lie. Once I saw her in 2, I was like, that's what episode 1 might have been missing a little bit. But let's move forward. So it ended up being a game of capture the bone, which I thought was fun. It's nice to see them playing and being girls. This is girlhood, we forget because they've been eating people, but like they would be having to pass the time somehow. And we find out it has repercussions that the losing team has to be their servants, quote unquote, for the rest of the day.
I thought that was a very bizarre reward to add to the tension of already having to survive day-to-day life. It's like, oh, let's make half of the people have to serve the other half of the people. It's like, why would you throw that wrench into any good vibes you could have? Especially, why would you put Mari and Shauna on different teams if you knew that's what was at stake? But no, I mean, Van... I completely agree. Van is trying to get some normalcy in here. I think Nat tells Shauna, hey, Van worked really hard on this. What we find out is the Summer Solstice Festival. And I think that was a very good introduction. We get this Cat Stevens song montage just showing us camp and the vibes. Guys, the vibes are immaculate because spring has sprung. Akila is raising ducks and bunnies. Like
cute ass bunnies.
cute ass
that
bunnies.
they're
They have,
unfortunately going to eat.
well, we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, no, the girls are actually doing okay for themselves. And seemingly, I guess this is the spring following the cabin burning down, it doesn't look like they've lost too many people.
They've gained people, apparently.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Jimmy and I talked in the preview episode. We were wondering how spring would how spring would sprung. We were wondering, okay, is there going to be game for them to eat? Are they gonna have to be playing this queen game over and over again? And how long does a human body last them? Luckily, right now there's berries, there's game, so they're not killing any humans right now. We actually find out, which is interesting, during the summer solstice kind of performance that Van gives out previously on the Yellowjackets, which I love.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We get some exposition, very inspirational speech. She tells us what we've seen already. We find out one, which we already kind of knew, that they think Coach lit the fire.
Yep.
And two, to the cabin, for anyone who forgets season 2. And then 2, I can't actually tell how long it's been because they said 12 days and nights of us feeding the fire and wilderness provided spring. So seems like spring came pretty soon after that fire and there being that much snow. But obviously they made huts. They've got kind of a camp life made now. So obviously there's been time, but I can't really tell how long it's been. The girls do look different. Nat's hair is grown out, like we talked about in the preview episode. Everyone looks older because these girls are just getting older in real life. But it's definitely, I just can't really tell how long it's been.
And that's got to be a little bit intentional. I think they're holding their cards close to the chest. I do hope that we fill in that absent gap of time sometime this season because we got to figure out what happened after the cabin burnt down. But yeah, I think all we're supposed to know right now is that the season has shifted. Has it been 2 weeks? Has it been 2 months or thereabouts? Doesn't matter. It's warm out. The girls are doing okay. And Van did say they fed the fire for like 12 days. So I'm wondering if that was still just having a giant fire as a source of warmth. Like that's how they survived. Like that was kind of their impromptu shelter. Okay, let's make our home base around this burning fire. So at least we have a source of warmth, source of light, keep any predators away, like at a minimum, because what the hell else are you going to do in the middle of like a raging blizzard?
Yeah. And also what made me think of it was that burning cabin. Now this is Yellowjackets. There's a spooky kind of, we might as well be in the Truman Show and there might as well be a top on the wilderness, but burning a house down, keeping a fire that big lit for 12 days, should help them get rescued if it wasn't Yellowjackets. 2, not to push forward to the actual summer solstice festival. Where the hell are they making these lanterns? They can make these lanterns. I'd be sending them off every 10 seconds. I'm like, we need to set off one every minute on the minute until we're rescued. What goes on? How are they not doing that even more?
Very true. And while you're having Van tell these stories, we also have Shauna basically contradicting everything in her diary, which I guess she didn't really learn her lesson from the Jackie stuff. She just wants to talk some shit on this diary and have someone find it and have them all hate her some more. But, she basically says in the diary, like, we're not getting saved. Are we getting saved? No, it's not happening, right? Van's telling the story about how we're Shiros and we're eventually going to get saved and we're doing our best. And Shauna believes probably logically that if they haven't been saved by now, it's not going to happen. And I agree with you though, Kathleen. Every single second of every single day, I'd be throwing those lanterns up. I know you need materials and stuff. Like you don't have limitless materials, but still.
Can we talk about that? I love every time she's writing something, I'm just imagining Jeff reading it like, holy shit, dude. When he reads those, I love getting an insight on what she actually wrote in those diaries because Jeff just kept that close to the vest like forever and he never said anything about it. Jeff's a tough guy.
He has confirmation pretty much of all the bad things in that diary, depending on what diaries actually make it to the present day.
Mm-hmm. Brian, me and Jimmy knew this like Shauna scribbling and kind of like a mad woman was going to happen because it was in the preview. I know you don't watch previews. So like, what was your first thoughts on Shauna kind of like diving into madness?
I mean, this isn't the first time she's dove into madness. I feel like
Right.
she's
True.
been wading into madness for 2 seasons now, and now madness is approaching, her neck level in the pool, if you will. So it
Yeah.
doesn't surprise me. I mean, she's isolating herself from the group. She's been kind of anti Lottie's nonsense forever. Van has been buying in. Now Van's doing this summer solstice festival. Like, she's not going to allow herself to see the brighter side of things, like try and be optimistic. She doesn't want to. She wants to have a pity potty, a pity
Pity
party, and she wants to be pissed at the world. She just lost her kid. She lost her best friend. She's on an island out here, and now Mari is running around like she owns the place. I'd be pissed too.
Your girl, Mari.
You're
Kathleen.
making me really regret saying that. Okay?
I don't.
Listen.
Come on now.
If we're talking about Mari versus Shauna, I really think that Shauna is being over the top with how she's acting towards Mari, but Mari is being a bully and deserves something back. But Shauna's being like you said, Brian, it's getting to the top here, and she's taking it all out on Mari and her diary.
And let's be honest, Shauna has a bit of a violent streak, so even later, she's like, give me a reason, Mari. I'm just dying to smack you in the face and beat the crap out of you. And Mari even says, oh, I want to kick your ass right now. It's like, good luck with that, Mari. She would eat you for breakfast, girly pop.
Oh, yeah.
But
quite literally. Why didn't we eat her first?
Quite literally, Kathleen. Thank you so much for not letting that slide by. No, this isn't surprising at all. Things change in this show, but the one constant is Shauna is crazy in the 90s and in present day, but different kind of crazy in the 90s. And I love it.
Totally.
Yeah, and I think that Shauna with Melanie Lynskey and Sophie Nélisse right this second, and I really fully believe it's by design, don't seem similar, right? Shauna in the present day is dealing with everything, the trauma of her entire life and present day stuff a certain way. And then we have young Sophie Nélisse's Shauna dealing with in a totally different way. You don't see them being the same for now. There are tendencies, right? When she kills the rabbit, all those kind of things. There's plenty of tendencies. But right now, it's a lot more different than the two Vans or the two Ties and everything like that. And I do think that's by design, and we're going to get the evolution into who she is now, which is very exciting. I do think that's going to be one of the most exciting things. And I hate to just jump to the present day, and I'm only going to talk about it for a second, but the line where Lottie and Misty are like, we're scared of your freaking mom.
We're all scared of your mom.
like Callie wouldn't think that for a second. And even us watching Shauna, as if we only had Melanie Lynskey's Shauna, yes, of course, we saw her kill a person, and we saw her kill a rabbit and those kind of things. But like outwardly to the real world, you're like, she's kind of quirky, she's kind of funny. I don't really see it like that fully. But they know the past one that puts a knife up to Melissa's neck and spits in Mari's soup and all that kind of stuff.
Let me just shout out.
Okay, well, hold up. Do we think she spat in the soup? Who was the instigator there? Or was Mari just trying to
we watched
show
it happen.
They show it.
They show her.
Did they show? Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's when I wrote the note, I'm team Mari, because she spit in the soup and then just like slams her face into the soup on the ground. I'm like,
and hilariously, it's just like, I didn't do it. Mari's crazy.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And the girls might have believed that. But I do want to shout out what Jimmy was saying when Shauna in the present day is being scary. I just did my rewatch. When Shauna holds up the guy after they steal the van, it's so good. It is like,
you can see it's there. It's there.
It's excellent. It's excellent. Yeah. Melanie Lynskey, what a babe.
Yeah. Sophie Nélisse's Shauna that we're seeing now is buried in our Melanie Lynskey's Shauna.
Definitely. Should we switch to Melissa? So speaking of Mari, we get, Shauna hates Mari's guts, obviously. And then Melissa shows up, and Melissa was in the previous seasons. Doesn't really have a personality. Do you actually have a personality from Shauna made me actually cackle, because it's us talking
breaking the
about
fourth wall.
Crystal last season singing. We're like, how would we not have seen her singing and Lottie dying all around camp in all of season 1? But Mari's so dumb. I hear she chipped her tooth on a vibrator. That's good stuff.
It was very. Do you guys remember in Pitch Perfect, like towards the end of the movie where they're rehearsing
Yes.
for the championships? And she's like, and you two, what have you not been practicing with us all year? And they both are just like, we've literally been here the entire time. And it's like their first lines of the entire movie, even though they have been in like every scene with the Bellas.
Yeah.
It was very much that same thing. You know, I feel like we actually resented them for kind of adding headcount to the Yellowjackets. It's like, okay, so you're trying to say none of these girls did anything significant in an entire season's worth of footage, but like I kind of like that we're having some new faces step up. I mean, Mari is already a spotlight of this season, and she was kind of like a tertiary character earlier in the show. Now we got Melissa, we got Jen stepping up. I kind of like it.
Brian, to your point, you're saying you like how they're adding new characters and they're allowing, and I know you have a devil's advocate to your own statement. And I just wanted to say that I have a statement that I made in the preview episode where I am fine with it as well, but I feel like this is it. This is the only time you can do it. This is the last possible season to do it.
It should be. And I kind of appreciated the writers putting that Shauna line, like you said, wait, you have a personality? That's their way of saying, yeah, this girl hasn't said anything or done anything for 2 seasons. Sorry about that. She's going to be a character going forward.
Right, right.
Which is fun.
Right. And it is like you always want to add new characters, especially if they end up being fun characters and good for the story. The only thing is that you just don't want to add characters later in the story, and it's going to change theories. It's going to change things making sense. All of a sudden you have plot holes because, oh, here's a plot hole. Let me just throw a new character in to make it make sense. And, oh, she was there the whole time. We just didn't show you. That kind of stuff won't work. I think season 3 is the last season we can do that. But Kathleen, we got Melissa. Surprisingly, like you don't know what her character is going to be when you meet her in this season. She's taking Shauna's side. I don't know if it's supposed to be at first one of those things where she knows Shauna's the badass, so she wants to be with the badass, protected by the badass. You know what I'm saying? Like you just pick the alpha, or if it's like I want a friend and then I want more, whatever, later in the episode we find out. Like, what were your thoughts when you're first meeting Melissa and how she reacted and talked to and interacted with Shauna?
You know, I'm a little disappointed in myself.
I was going to say, did you get any vibes, Kathleen?
I am the vibe police when it comes to women kissing each other. I have it on authority in this Bingetown group that I am the authority because I kiss women, or one woman. Shout out Alex. So I didn't see it until the last scene where we know that Melissa put the flowers on the rock. Shauna had, after the solstice, she dug up her baby and reburied the baby somewhere else. I agree with Shauna on that front because I'd be like, Lottie, get away from me with your voodoo shit. But when it happened, I gasped. I could see it was gonna happen in like that second, but no, for 2 whole episodes. I mean, Melissa didn't have that much screen time. I thought it was just Melissa gonna be a Shauna friend. Like I didn't think it was gonna be a big smooch, but your girl is pumped about the big smooch. And it just made me think, like, how are none of these other girls like smooching each other? It's just companionship.
Right.
You're out there alone, and there's only Travis now because Coach Scott is 1 gay and 2 elsewhere. So it's only Travis. And, companionship. They've been out there for a really long time. So I'm not surprised this happened, and I'm really excited about it. Brian, what'd you think?
I thought it made sense, but I think it's not so easy as, oh, they're both gay and they want to be together and have a little companionship, because clearly Melissa, they're showing us she's a little bit of a stalker. I think it's a little bit, Jimmy, what you were saying, Shauna's kind of the alpha. People are afraid of her. And everybody knows that she was on an island. I think Melissa extended that little olive branch to try and be like, I kind of want to have you maybe for protection, maybe just be associated with you, whatever. There was the stalker thing of it all. But I think Melissa probably has a weird admiration for Shauna because she has helped them out to survive in the woods. So maybe it's all of the above, but certainly she initiated the kiss. Shauna was like, okay, I'm about it. While she has the neck to her throat, which was very Shauna. But no, I kind of like it. I didn't want Shauna to just like I've been saying, be on an island,
Right.
isolated from everybody else. I think she definitely needed, like Kathleen, you were saying, a little companionship. And if it's in the form of Melissa, who seems to be not so crazy as Shauna, maybe that could be good for her. Maybe it could be horrible for her. And we'll get to our theories in the
Yeah.
future timeline
Yeah.
about what maybe Melissa may or may not be up to.
Definitely.
Yeah, put a pin in that for the future, for the present
Definitely.
day timeline.
So
All right. Go ahead.
I wanted to say Nat, Keela brings over the crown, Shauna throws it on the ground, spits on it, but Nat convenes, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, the tribunal of what I'm assuming is just kind of her inner circle, like the de facto leaders. She is the queen or whatever, the camp counselor, as she calls herself. But then Van, Taissa, and Jen are kind of her three people she confides in. She's asking Jen, how's the hunting going? She is very insistent that Coach is indeed dead. And then they are keeping poor Misty at arm's length, being like, oh, you did such a good job in the game. Like, of course, she wants to be a part of what's going on, but they won't let her. So I think it's worth noting that seems to be the power dynamic. And even though they all respect Nat as number one, Nat has chosen kind of her close people that she confides in.
Yeah, and Nat was chosen as the Antler Queen. We saw that happen, and Nat is always reluctant, and that's usually the best leader, the reluctant leader. And we know that Shauna, she doesn't really like that Nat was chosen, and she's been dealing with so much stuff. Obviously, some of the worst stuff in the entire series has been happened to Shauna. And I did see Sophie Nalise said in an article, it only gets worse, which, oh my gosh. But she's got some negative energy going towards Nat because of that. But I'm in for Nat being the Antler Queen. There's plenty of theories about if she's going to stay the Antler Queen, etc. Kathleen, we saw some trailer stuff where Brian, nothing crazy, but I think this trailer was actually great because of all the flashes of how the trailer worked. You don't really know what you're seeing. It was just like flash, flash, flash with some sweet ass music. So you're not really seeing or understanding what you're seeing. But Nat is obviously still protecting Coach. And this is where you still see her humanity. She doesn't want them to hunt him down. You obviously see later in the present or the 96 timeline how he views them. And that's not any kind of shock to us because we saw his reactions in season 2 as well. But Nat is definitely the right leader right now, I would say. We even get a situation where Ty is like, I should be the leader. And we know that is part of her personality. She's Miss Senator. Yeah. So what do you guys think? Do you think Nat is the right leader at this moment?
I think it's good. Nat is a very neutral person. And like you said,
Right.
It's good that she reluctantly is like, fine, I'll take it if you guys all want me to lead you.
Yeah.
However, I think they did a good job of framing the power dynamic because Taissa was the one in this scene I was just talking about that says, yo, Nat, you're in charge. You got to nip this thing in the bud that's going on between Shauna and Mari. We're all seeing it. It is not okay. It is escalating. This hasn't been the first incident. And obviously at night when they're having the dinner, there's the smoking gun of her spitting in the soup that comes to a head. So Taissa is probably better at identifying things that need to be handled, whereas Nat might be a little bit more likely to just brush it over, like, oh, they're girls being girls, they'll figure it out themselves. Things like this are going to happen. But Taissa was right. So I don't know. I think Taissa would probably be a heavier hand. That said, they're probably the only two viable candidates for leadership. So at least they landed on one of those two and not, I don't know, Shauna.
I think people who want to be the leader are probably not the best person to be a leader. Like you said, Nat's the reluctant leader. And I don't think it's going to last because we see at the end, Misty narcs out Nat for the trap being set. She's trying to avoid Misty seeing it, but it doesn't work. And Misty narcs her out immediately. She's good grief. But Shauna would be the worst leader you could have at this point because she is, and she might end up becoming it. And that's how they descend into craziness. Who's to say? But I don't think that's going to last very long because she is protecting Coach Scott. And because of this Maury thing in the pit, it's going to come out that Coach Scott is alive, which makes me think he's not going to survive this season. And I'm so sad about that. I need him to survive. I want Coach Scott in the present day. I need it.
So we were kind of saying that once Maury splits from the camp, why don't we just nail her bucket in the 90s when she splits off with Coach? So do we kind of want to do that now? And just because I'm dying to kind of like talk about Coach and what I think he's been up to. So yes, after the spit in the soup incident, Maury storms off and says, I'm done with this. This is ridiculous. Shauna's crazy. Coach finds the pit, finds the survival kit, whatever, and then sets a trap to get a deer, but instead he gets a Maury. Maury, for her part, they have
a wild Maury.
Yeah, a wild Maury, exactly right. This show has always been great at not shying away from just the brutality, the physical injuries. So she dislocates her knee. Of course, we have to see her pop it back into place. Yep. I also loved how like she thought that Coach was just going to be this wild, like beast of a man who tried to burn down their cabin with all of them inside. And he's like, Maury, are you kidding me? Like, get a grip. Okay, wiggle your toes. Let's try and pop that thing back into place. Coach has actually been very, very rational so far that we've seen him on screen, except for when he went deeper into the cave and started talking to himself, or maybe, whatever. But I don't know. I if you want to say I'm on Team Shauna over Maury, I am still a Coach believer, a Coach trooper. I love Coach. And I think
me too.
If he spent the entire winter in a cave and he's still like that level-headed and it's like, yo, Maury, listen, I got to tie you up just because I know you guys are crazy town. And if I don't, you'll run back to them. You'll capture me, eat me next. But I don't know. I just love where their storyline is going. And had they not given us episode 2, them ending episode 1 with Maury trapped in the pit and Coach just looking over would have been the ultimate cliffhanger for like a first episode of the season.
Do you think Coach is talking to Paul, or do you think he's talking to the spirits?
So didn't Javi say that when he found his like oasis, there was like
she helped him,
like a capital S she. So I get the feeling maybe he found Javi's hiding spot. So that's like the same spot Javi was, and he maybe was shown this same she with the capital S and is talking to her.
So the first thing I want to ask you guys is when he goes back to the pit and we hear the cries, and they're obviously mysterious. Could be a deer, could be a person. Were you thinking it was going to be a person? Did you think it was going to be a deer and he was going to be like, yes? Or what were you expecting when we looked down?
Person.
Yeah.
It sounded like a girl whimpering to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you think it was going to be a new character? Or did you think it was going to be, did you guess Maury?
It all happened too fast. Yeah, it happened too fast. And I was like, oh, shit. I knew it was someone, but I didn't even have time to think about who it could be. What did you think?
As soon as I heard the whimpers, I said person. I didn't guess Maury. Like you said, it was too fast. But I figured person. And should we talk about the survivor kit?
Yes, please.
He finds this pit, and it's boarded, right? So he pulls the boards up, which to me at first I was laughing because we talk about we talk about loss. I was like, is this going to be another hatch or what? Like,
my gosh.
Because when he first, I'm like, is this a freaking hatch? But okay, so it's boarded. It's just protected. He opens it up. Survivor kit. I think the actors, whether it's Maury, Coach Ben, reacting to their first real food, quote unquote real food, which is a protein bar, which is actually not real food, but you know what I mean? Real, not wild game food or berries or plants. And Maury drinking hot chocolate. The acting was phenomenal. They fully made me believe they were people that hadn't eaten in 2 years or whatever it is.
The way Ben shoved that entire protein bar in his mouth, I'm like, that's not going to work, dude. Take it back out.
I know that you're supposed to like eat. Yeah. And when you're like starving and you're like meaning starving, like for a long time, you're supposed to eat in small amounts and not shove it all down. But I mean, I thought it was believable. Like if I found a peanut butter chocolate protein bar and I've been in the woods for 2 years, I'd be like, rah, 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 give me that shit.
But I think it's really interesting that they decided that hot chocolate was what Maury was going to have, because when Jackie was dying and she had that dream at the very end, And everyone's like, "We love you, Jackie." They're like, "Here's hot chocolate." And she's like, "How did you
Yeah.
get this?"
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting. I mean, hot chocolate is what would be in there, I guess, or coffee, like instant coffee.
Tea. Yeah.
Even so, interesting.
I didn't even think of that. That's got to be some sort of foreshadowing. That means curtains for Mari.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, come
Currently.
on.
Mari over here.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the survivor kit. It's pretty full. It's obviously been put there for a reason. The spot probably was chosen specifically for that reason. Are we thinking cabin guy? Are we thinking random characters that we haven't met yet? What are you guys thinking here?
If this is a good show, they have to give us a concrete explanation for
Oh, yeah.
why there is signs of civilization out here scattered in the woods. Who buried the pit? I mean, the only lead we have is Cabin Daddy, but
Yeah.
Cabin Daddy could turn into a whole web of people that have been
Yeah.
coming out here for any number of reasons. Back in the day, we thought there was a cult practicing out here. Maybe there still is. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, some sort of survivalist clearly was out here. We have to say Cabin Daddy for now.
Yeah.
I agree. And it everything looked like pristine. It was interesting. It was almost
Yeah.
like sooner than you'd think, because I'm thinking of Lost, and this wasn't preserved like the stuff in this was in like a survival kit, meaning it would be more preserved. But I'm thinking of when they're like drinking these old ass beers in Lost, and they look these cans look like
and-
so old, and they're just like drinking old decrepit ass beer. But I don't know. I was just hyped for Ben. I'm like, more sustenance for Ben. Let's go.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was shocked though. I couldn't believe they found that, and there could be other ones in
Scattered.
scattered. So who knows?
I mean, like we have a scenario where Javi gets that secret hiding spot and Coach Ben uses that as well. But we know that there was no survivalist gear or anything in there because they were still showing bones and you're still having to eat animals or berries or whatever it is. So I don't know if they're connected or not. I would have loved, and maybe it doesn't make sense, but for me as a viewer at this moment, I would have loved the symbol to be carved into the wood that he pulled up or even into the actual case. But either way, Brian, I just want to quickly throw this at you. There's a theory that I was talking about. I put it on the YouTube channel and we talked about it on the podcast. I believe me and Kathleen did for the preview. And one of the big things everyone was talking about between season 2 and 3 was there was supposed to be a bonus episode. It was almost like proven. It was out there that a bonus episode existed, right? And Melanie Linsky's husband was on set. She said she worked with him, and there's pictures of them on set. And there's pictures of him holding a baby, which was a baby girl. Now, could this have been a coincidence? Like Kathleen, I think they do have a baby girl together. I don't know, but it looked like they were on set, like filming. So there were theories out there that Melanie Linsky's husband was going to be playing either Cabin Daddy, which I don't know if that makes sense because of Jackie's hallucination that she sees maybe, or a member of, like you said, Brian, a community, a cult, whatever it is that lived in that cabin. And then the big theory would be that the daughter is grown up and still lives in the woods somewhere. The young girl, the young baby that they're seeing in the bonus episode. And then Cabin Daddy's dead. All the adults probably are dead, but the baby grew up and survived and is another entity that we may meet in the woods. Now, this is purely tinfoil, purely bullshit just because we never got this bonus episode. And I'm assuming now it's going to be scattered in the episodes as flashbacks or maybe one episode this season. It seems like it's confirmed that it's supposed to be a flashback episode because none of the main actors and actresses were in this bonus episode.
Okay.
But to have another entity in the woods, meaning could it be this girl, opens up a lot of different possibilities. And we don't even need to talk more about it, but I just want to make sure you were aware of the theory.
I was aware there was supposed to be a bonus episode. I hadn't heard that theory. And so that theory would mean that Shauna in the 90s timeline has another child while she's out in the woods.
No. So
just lets it live there, or she has one in the present day and
it's not a Shauna baby. It's a Cabin Daddy baby that would be grown up.
Gotcha.
So it's
I like
a total different entity, human being that has nothing
see.
to do with the Yellowjackets. Yeah,
It's
meaning that they could introduce someone else that we don't know, and they're surviving in the woods.
Right.
Somehow.
So it's
and they
I was
give
gonna
them
say because
the latch.
you lost me with Shauna having another kid. No, that
so-
checks out actually. Maybe that's could be who Javi and Coach are seeing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when I said Melanie Linsky, I mean it's her husband in real life. Jason Ritter is the
Yeah.
actor. So
Yeah.
that's why the Shauna connection. But there is no actual Shauna connection. It would be a pure flashback to Cabin Daddy and people that live there. And this daughter, this young girl, would now be grown up living in the woods. And, it's kind of like having the Lost, Kathleen, you're bringing up Lost. It's like having the French woman from Lost where she's found in the early seasons.
Yeah.
I really like the theory, and I'd be completely down for another character added to the 90s Woods plot line that makes sense in the context of the story. So if they made it make sense and introduced something like that, I think it would be really cool. Good theory.
And before we move on from Coach Ben, I think that, there's obviously multiple possibilities with who he's talking to. The easiest possibility is that he was literally isolated for so long that he's talking to his boyfriend hallucination like he was in season 2, or literally just himself because he had nobody to talk to for so long. There's a lot of scenarios that could go on with that. And then, of course, there's any kind of supernatural scenario.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of supernatural, shall we pivot to Travis and Lottie?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
This is the bleakest one, I would say. It's, they're getting high on shrooms. Lottie's kind of forcing it on Travie. Travie,
I like
the
it.
hell. Travie is hearing the trees screaming first. All the other girls hear it later when they're having the solstice thing. So what are you guys thinking? Do you think that Lottie pushes Travis too far, and this is what leads to Travis, leaving when they get rescued, becoming an addict? And what do you guys think? And what are the implications of this?
Well, it's asking a young man who was in a plane crash that took his father's life and then watched his little brother get eaten by his peers that are all high school girls to just start tripping sack in the woods. So yeah, I would say that she is pushing him too far. I think all of the above is influencing what Travis's fate ultimately winds up being in the present day. Specifically that, I mean, I don't know, but it's not something you should be doing to Travis. And later on in the episode, I guess before he trips for the second time, when he's like, yo, Van and Ty, I know the woods. Can I go out with you? She even pulls him away and is like, no, I'm working on something with Travis. It's like, okay, so this is just him. I also don't really like that nobody kind of steps up to Lottie. I think if Nat's the antler queen, Lottie is number 2 in the pecking order, and everybody just kind of lets her do what she does. So she's not helping Travis, that's for sure.
Yeah, Lottie's taking the lead. She's not the antler queen, but she's the priestess or the religious side, which can usually be the right-hand man / woman person. And she doesn't have the full authority of the antler queen, but everyone does respect her. The only person that really would step up to her would be Shauna, most likely. Kathleen, Brian, I agree with you 100%. I think Lottie's pushing Travis too far. I feel like he obviously doesn't like what he's being told to do. At first, when he's tripping, he's loving it. And she's like, you're so high, dude. And he's like, yeah, man, let's go to Mars, baby. And then things start taking a turn. He's hearing the screams. And then on the second try, she's like, let's up your dose. And it's like, come on, man. Yeah. And we get a scenario where he is crying. He attacks Lottie. He doesn't like that he attacked Lottie. He's crying because he attacked Lottie, not even necessarily because the trees are screaming or any of the other stuff that he's seeing. He's upset with himself because he attacked Lottie and he thinks he's dangerous. He's sitting there crying and she wants to push him further. And then he does make up his excuse, and he's putting Aquila in the line of fire here by saying this wilderness. I mean, my take was that he's lying.
It up?
Oh, I think he's making it up so he doesn't have to do it anymore. You think it's real? The wilderness told him?
I didn't even think that he was making it up. He's just really throwing Aquila out there for the birds.
That's how I took it. I took it like he's in so much pain with what she's making him do that he doesn't want to do it anymore, and he just threw it at Aquila. What do you think,
I took it as Bible. Brian, what'd you think?
So you're talking about when he said, it told me it doesn't want me?
Yeah.
I'm with Jimmy. I think he was just like, this girl's crazy town. I don't want to be in the center of it. At least a little bit, but he definitively was
chooses
picking up on
Akila.
something. Like, he definitely heard the screaming before all the other girls heard the screaming. And then on the second trip, like, he was saying something like 1 eyes, 2 eyes, 3 eyes, or all looking at me or something weird like that. So he's picking up on something, or maybe he's just scared. He's like, that's too much for me. I'm just going to tell Lottie, I heard it. It told me it rejects me. It doesn't want me. I totally got that.
Yeah, that's how I took it.
I mean, he spit some facts. He had some receipts. He came up with a pretty good lie, if it's a lie, because he said that's why the animals take to Akila so much. And we're just saying Akila. He didn't name Akila. I actually was thinking maybe it was Jen, because Jen's doing such a good job catching the game now and killing like deer and stuff. Thinking it through, I do think it's Akila.
So wait, he doesn't name her? I just assumed.
You assumed. He does not name
Wow,
her.
okay,
They just
because
said
she's the one-
she is like,
Well, it
like
shows her when it
animals
says
come to
she.
her. Yeah.
Like, it literally, he looks right at her, and she's the one who brought him the duck. What's the
Yeah,
duck's
well,
name?
I'll die for Mortimer. I'll tell you that right now.
Mortimer,
When
yeah.
when they eat Mortimer, I'm rioting.
Yeah, you can't eat Mortimer. I mean,
They're
let's think
gonna.
about it. Like, remember Akila with the little mouse situation? You know, that was
Yeah.
just more of a hallucination, of
Yikes.
course. But I
That
don't
was
know. I mean, maybe there
harrowing,
is
the
some truth
mouth
to it.
situation.
That
Oh my
was harrowing.
gosh.
Uh, okay. Any last thoughts? Because we've gone 50 minutes on just the past, so we need to kick it into the present. So any final thoughts, or maybe they can bleed into this next bucket? Thoughts?
No, I think I'm good, except for the fact that I'm going to let this bleed into the bucket for the present day. I just feel so bad for Misty. I really do.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Always.
We could talk more about that for sure.
Don't we all the time?
Yeah,
but also, she kind of deserves it. But what came first, chicken or the egg, you know?
Yeah, certain
totally.
times.
What I kind of want to wrap this up with is a little bit more Coach Ben conversation, and exactly what the nature of her and Nat, what the nature of Coach Ben and Nat's communication since the cabin burnt down exactly is. It's clear that Nat does not want Misty or anybody to find Coach Ben. She's insisting, no, he's dead. Don't even bother looking for him, whatever. Do we think that Nat has maybe been in communication with Coach during the long winter and has been talking to him? Do we think she knows who did burn down the cabin? And do you guys have any guesses as to who burnt down the cabin? Or do you think she's just like, he's probably alive and I want to keep it that way because I respect him? Like, do you think they've talked?
The latter.
I think the latter. You think they talked, James?
No. I think the latter.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think that she knows that he found Javi's hiding spot. He knows that she knows that he's safe there, or could be safe there, but is just letting everyone think that there's nowhere in the woods for him to be safe. He had to have frozen to death, and that's that. But everyone else also knows that Javi survived somehow. So that's probably why they're like, Coach Ben could be alive. Let's go get him. I don't think they've spoke. I think that it's just kind of like, and when Nat says to Misty, like, we've barely talked about Coach Ben, I'm like, oh, this girl's lying. Those two were bonding. Like during Doom Coming, when they're both like high and drinking the real whiskey that Nat found. I liked their relationship a lot. So I ride for Nat riding for Coach Ben. Big fan.
So do you think when her and Misty stumbled upon the trap that presumably Coach had set, that was the first tangible proof that he was alive Nat had seen? Because I guess she's also been like scouting around the area. Do you think, because if they haven't had explicit communications, like they ran into each other while she was scouting the area or something and just got to talk it out with him, that's probably all she's going off of. Maybe a trap. Maybe that was the first time she saw a clue that he was alive. Like, do you see what I'm asking? Like,
yeah, no.
How is she so sure? Is she just assuming all of this? He probably found Javi's spot. He's probably still alive, you know?
So he does tell her he found Javi's spot in season 2, right?
He does. Yes, you're right. You're
so,
right.
Yeah.
My thoughts here kind of go back to why I think she's the best quote unquote antler queen right now. Obviously, we're not seeing certain characters. That's the point of there being the entire team. Most of the team's still alive, and some of the characters are going to rise up, and we'll see more of them this season, like Melissa and Jen, etc. But Nat is still, to me, the most quote unquote human, right? She hasn't bought in to the religious stuff most of the time in
Yeah.
this series. She obviously has partaken in cannibalism because she needed to, but she's reluctant to be the antler queen. She maybe thinks or maybe doesn't think that Ben tried to burn their cabin down, but she still believes like a human life is a human life and we're not going to take it. And
Yeah.
I want to protect him. I think, Brian, what you're saying or what you were getting at is that my point of view would be she has been scouting. She knows that he has Javi's spot, and she's seen certain traps, and she just assumes that he is alive, and she's going to keep his secret.
All right. And then my final question, I want like 1 sentence answers, and then we can move on to the present timeline. Who is suspect number 1 to have burnt down the cabin? Because 2 episodes in, I'm so confident it was not Coach. And my
Oh,
answer is Van.
Oh,
Whoa.
She was
why?
acting squirrely, and she, along with Nat, because we know her reasons for being like, Coach is dead, like he's the worst. Van has been pushing the narrative, like when she was giving her speech in the summer solstice, like we survived a crazy ass Coach burning down our cabin. Like she has had 3 instances where she was very assertive on keep Coach burnt down the cabin in your heads, girls.
interesting.
Wow, I disagree, but I just
Mhm.
think that you need 2 different camps and you need someone pushing the Coach Scott so we know that everyone's fucking pissed about it, as they should
Yeah.
be if they're but I think it's just the wind. I think the wind burned it down. I think the creepy ass entity in the woods burned it down just like it cooked Jackie, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To your point, Brian, I will say that they really did introduce certain aspects of Van towards the end of season 2, where she's really buying into the religious side of
Yeah.
things, the wilderness side of things. When they catch Javi and he's there and he's dead, and she has that look in her eyes where she's looking like she's buying fully into this whole scenario. I could see that being an option, but I will not lie to you. I didn't think about that for a second. And I was more
Yeah.
on the wilderness side of things. You know, whether they didn't do something right or it's time for them to move on and I need them to get more savage so they're not going to have a house or a shelter, something like that. Like, I mean, we didn't even talk about what we think the screaming is in the trees. Like,
Yeah.
True.
I mean, do we think that's the wilderness too? Like at first it sounded like
Yeah.
animals. Like I almost thought for a second it was like screeching monkeys in the trees. Like there's obviously not that I think it's really monkeys, but I'm just saying like you could play it off like it could be some crazy flock of animals or something. But I mean, we really are diving into the supernatural stuff and there's no theories to be had. We could just say, okay, I think it's the wilderness and move on. But you know, is that what you guys assumed?
You know, it goes back to what Shauna says. There was no it. It was just us the whole time. Do you believe in that, or do you think there is an entity? Because 99% of the shenanigans that go on could be explained by, oh, it was the supernatural force. But if that wasn't a player, then it's all these girls just like being crazy, stuck in the woods, making stuff up in their heads. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no further explanation for that. But the screeching
Okay.
was a little bit wild. But it could have just
Yeah.
been an animal that they all just were like, whoa, it's crazy supernatural stuff. Thank you, Forrest.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm in on
Timing's
all
weird.
supernatural.
Timing's weird, but again, like you said, Brian, you really can say supernatural or mental illness. The timing doesn't really need to matter. If it's mental illness and they all agree, that's the one thing. All of them hearing it seems a little
It's a
different
fully
than What'd you
shared
say?
delusion, baby.
Yeah, shared delusion's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Kathleen, let's move on.
All right, let's do it. Present day, 6 weeks later. This one we actually get legit 6
Yes.
weeks later. They mention it. I think in episode 2, we start. We know Natalie's funeral's coming up. She was cremated. Not sure if that's gonna come back at some point, but the funeral wasn't as big as I thought. Brian, FYI, we saw that they were going to be at the funeral in the preview. It was only 2 seconds. We see her mom's like awful speech, and then
Yeah.
they go to the bar. I think the main part of the bar is that Shauna spots, or at least maybe thinks she spots, the blonde for the first time. Now we're in present day. We see that someone is trying to get a hold of them and they're getting stalked again or whatever it is. They leave the tape that Callie finds. Callie's like, what is this? I've never seen this before.
Yeah, right.
What do I do with this? But it's interesting because Shauna looks concerned and then just kind of brushes it off. You would think if Shauna actually saw someone from her past,
Yeah.
she'd be right? Like, holy shit, Van and Ty, look, it's Melissa.
Right. I was going to say, let's just put it out there. Now that we're
Yeah.
in the present day, I
Yeah.
think all of our main theories would be, I think the show even wants you to think that this is Melissa.
So my thing here is, one, how much do Ty and Van know about the nature of Melissa and Shauna's relationship in the woods? Did they know that she had that stalker era to her, or even that they were romantically involved? That's number one. And number two, I actually, in watching, didn't connect the dots that Melissa also sent the tape recording that Callie wound up finding. But she very well could have. I don't know where else that tape recording would have came from.
And Brian,
So
I do want to bring this. Yeah, I do want to bring this up. It's not. I know it is some trailer talk, but it's mainly something that we do need to talk about because I know the fandom in general is wondering. Hilary Swank was cast for Yellowjackets season 3, and she's in the preview. But honestly, Brian, in the trailer, you can't tell what she is, who she is, anything about it. But my assumption, knowing that she's in the show, is that she's going to be this person, whether it's adult Melissa or just a new character. So just have Hilary Swank on your mind when you're thinking of who this person is.
Yeah. I was wondering if we were going to tell Brian that because it is all over the place. Like
It is.
Quote unquote spoiled. But I saw someone in the Discord, I think it was Delco Nick, was also like, I didn't want to get spoiled for that. The Hilary Swank
well,
thing.
it was like huge, like announced news that she was cast.
Yeah.
I think
which
I did
is,
see the casting at least. So that's not too much of a surprise.
And they're showing us purposely that it's a blonde person through the window looking at Callie, blonde, or maybe Shauna. I can't remember who they're looking at through the window.
Callie.
And blonde in the bar. So definitely interesting because I wonder if they shot the scene where they're getting rescued. In season 2, they show us not the rescue scene, but coming off the plane and the paparazzi, and they're all kind of like covering their face.
Yep.
And I wonder if they shot that with like multiple different people following in. And if that's the case,
so they can decide.
Again, Brian, hate to spoil you, but there's a line that wasn't said in 1 or 2 in the preview that says, all of us that would know about this are either here or dead. So it's interesting because if they think if this is Melissa is dead, how are they going to work that out? But we're going to just have to figure that out in future episodes.
And I think that there is a good chance. I don't know if I want to say good chance, but there's a chance it's not Melissa because of how obvious the show is making it be that it could be Melissa. The parallels between the final scenes with Shauna and Melissa, and then Shauna in the present day trying to figure out who picked up the phone and blah, 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 blah. Like, that's almost like them telling us, expect Melissa, right? But is it the red herring? We don't know. Now, quickly, I do want to say with the cassette, you brought it up, Kathleen. If I'm Callie, that thing is in my ears the moment. There's no way I'm
100%.
sitting on that freaking thing, especially because we have the scenario where she goes full detective mode on Lottie and Misty and says, I want to know what happened, blah, 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 blah. Like, at that moment, we have to assume she still didn't listen to the cassette. And I understand Callie's 17. She probably doesn't have a cassette player, almost most likely doesn't have a cassette player. You got to figure this shit out on how you're going to get it played. But still, I would figure that out immediately.
Jeff is calling weed chronic. They have a video player in their garage. Go into the garage immediately. Also, the envelope said Shauna Shipman, not Shauna Sadecki, which is interesting. So you would have to think it's someone from the past. Like, I'm speaking to Shipman. I'm not speaking to the Sadecki who you think you are. I'm talking to this wild, savage version of you, which I loved. I love that little tidbit.
Very interesting.
Cool.
Okay, so in the bar, those one little tidbit I want to talk about, we find out that Lottie, for episode 1 at least, is in a facility for the differently sane. Loved that
Yes.
line. We can talk about her more as we come up into the next episode storyline, but let's maybe dive into Van and Ty, and we can kind of rip them because they're separate after this. So we get a little bit of Van and Ty lore. We know they're together through the woods. They go to Shauna's wedding to Jeff, but it ends up, they obviously end up broken up. We didn't know why. And we find out that Ty dumped Van for like optics because I guess Ty
Yeah.
wanted to be a high powered. Now, obviously, we know she's a senator, or now a disgraced senator, but
Right.
a lawyer, et cetera, et cetera. And, Ty's trying to get it on right now with Van.
Yeah.
And I love that. Obviously, the storyline ends in kind of tragedy, but it was good stuff.
I thought it was very Ty to be like, come on, it's been weeks. Why can't we share a bed? Like almost condescendingly. And Van's like, are you kidding me? Like, you dumped me for the reasons you just said. And then I love where she was like, the bullshit irony of it is you wound up gay anyway because you married Simone.
Yeah.
So it's like, what the heck is that all about? And you're asking me why, with only a couple months left to live, I won't come running back to you, Ty? Give me a break. And this was, oh gosh, this was like such a ridiculous storyline, them going to the restaurant. I
Yeah.
guess they are, whose house are they living in? Because Ty got kicked out of Simone's house. So is she living with Van?
That's not Van's house. Van lives like above the video store.
Yeah.
I thought.
I
This
guess
is like
Ty has a lot of money, and it's like what, like a hotel or something, or Airbnb or what?
a little
Okay.
concerning that Ty is forgetting Simone exists after she got her basically killed. And Sam
Well,
is a son.
they have the conversation in the episode where she's on the phone with her, and she's like, "I want to talk to my son." Remember, that confirms that she's alive and fine.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't think she
I forgot
forgot
that.
Simone exists. I think just she moved on emotionally very quickly and was able to pick that up very quickly with Van. But no, she did call and ask to talk to the
Okay.
son.
I must have been taking a note because I don't remember that at all.
It's a quick scene,
Understood.
and she says, like, I want to talk to him. I want to talk to him. Just because you don't want me to talk to him doesn't mean I can't talk to him. Obviously, we know that Simone saw a lot of crazy ass stuff in the prior seasons.
Yeah.
So she obviously doesn't want their son to talk to Ty. But either way, Ty's smitten again with Van. And you obviously
Aw.
can tell that they were meant for each other, and life's, everything going through on in life changed their path. And we even have the scene in season 2, or I believe it's Misty says when they go to the compound, "Oh my God, you guys are back together." Like, and
Yeah.
they're like,
Yeah.
"No, we're not back together." They're
Yeah.
a great relationship, and it is weird, like, that it leads to this restaurant scene where there's good conversations, obviously, throughout the episodes where they're talking about Van's cancer, which we can get into
Mhm.
theories on that, and how Van's like, and even Ty realized, like, sorry, it's not my place. Like, it's your life. You have however much time to live. I'm not going to boss you around and stuff. But leading to this restaurant scene where they decide to dine and dash, and then this waiter chases them, almost gets hit by the bus, and then has the heart attack. I just want to throw this at you right now. The only thing that I could think of is that they threw this scene in there because that's the moment where Van's death got transferred to another person, and the wilderness gave her death.
I
But-
thought Nat was that. I thought Nat was the sacrifice for Van.
I agree. It should have been Nat, but that's why I'm saying this is still crazy. But this is the only
Yeah.
thing that I could think of where it's like they're almost crossing paths. The guy stops, the bus almost hits him, he dies, and now Van is alive because of it. That's the only thing I could think of because it's a very, very weird
Yeah.
scene.
I like that theory, and I think we would get news on that quickly because Ty goes to the restaurant to try and repay their bill so that Van can go to the doctor. So maybe she got a test ran, and in the next episode or the coming episode, she'll get some good news like, oh my gosh, my cancer is starting to go away, something like that. I cannot believe that Van is going to die. I
No.
just kind of refuse to believe that.
Me too.
I think it's the ultimate slam dunk that if Supernatural is a part of this TV show, that when Lottie says you'll see that the wilderness is happy at the end of season 2, that means that Van is going to be cured from her
Mhm.
cancer. And for all we know, when Van goes to the doctor and Ty says, "You're at urgent care this long." It could have been that Van actually went to her doctor, not urgent care, and got some results or got some answers. And there's two liars on this side of the scene where Ty doesn't say that someone died, that they were pretty much, it's their fault 100%, that he chased him out and he almost got hit by a bus and had a heart attack. And Van's not saying, I got some weird news. I went to the doctor for my foot and they took blood tests or something, and my cancer seems to be gone, or my white blood cell count seems to be better. And I don't even know if that's the right thing to say, but something's looking better. And they're going to do more tests. And then, oh my gosh, I don't have cancer, something like that. I could see that happening.
I like it.
Yeah, me too. And I think a huge part of this, separate from Van and Ty, is when they finally kiss, Ty sees the guy from her childhood again, who she sees throughout her life. It's this like emo-y looking guy, Brian for Letterkenny, looks like this like skid almost, like, like the dark eyes. So I don't, that is something we just don't know, because obviously it's been following her since it's a kid. It's one of the overarching Ty mysteries, but I'm glad they keep bringing him back. It just means we're going to get an answer, which I like, of course, always like, but there's really not much else with Van and Ty. That guy had no business chasing after them. It's okay. Just
I'd be like,
go. Why are you chasing them 5 different blocks? Like, just let them go.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And if you're going to do this, there's no way you go back. If you're Ty and you go back, you're just like, hey, cuff me. I just totally sandbagged you, right?
Me personally, if I really felt obligated to make that right, I would put a little note saying from the Dine and Dashers. And if she wanted to repay the meal plus a hefty tip, leave it in cash, anonymously on the counter. Get out of that bitch.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That's the move. You don't be like, hey, we forgot to pay. Oh, you need my card. Come on, Ty. What are you doing? Be smart.
We forgot to pay, and we were running from the waiter, and, he died.
He died.
Insane.
It was a great scene when they start kissing. Glycerine is playing in the background. The music refuses to quit on this show.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, amazing stuff. I don't have anything else to say. That was great.
Yeah.
That's all for Ty and Van.
Let's move to Misty. It's quick in the first episode, at least. She's really depressed about Nat. We join her, obviously, 6 weeks after she literally killed Nat, who was her best friend, of course. And Walter's trying to get her out of the funk, and she's like obviously bedridden. And he lures her out with Natalie's storage unit, and we see a couple things. I had to zoom and walk far up to my TV to see. There's a Natalie mugshot in there that they find from 2003, meaning she's all brunette. It's still young Nat's actress, but it's post, obviously, them getting. It says 03 on it. I made sure to look. And then the leather jacket, which leads to this bar scene of her going absolutely nuts on a bottle of whiskey. But did you guys see anything else in the storage that was of note?
No, not really, to be honest. I was trying to freeze frame and pause. You caught the young Nat mugshot better than I did. I kind of just took it as memorabilia kind of stuff. And Misty, of course, alphabetizing the everything in the cabinet. She's also doing the same thing with all of Nat's stuff, keepsakes, things we're going to throw out, etc. I didn't see anything crazy. Like, it wasn't like any secret notes or like anything between her and Trav or anything like that.
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
But
except for that sweet leather jacket.
Oh, I need to talk about this, man. I'm going at it right now with my MVP, Christina Ricci.
Yeah.
She just
killed
it. She just was so good as Misty in these 2 episodes. Cracked me up. I was laughing so hard. And obviously it's very sad at the same time. So there's parallels to it. But when she's got the leather jacket and she goes into the bar and she's asking for shots and she's like, I had to write this down because I was freaking laughing. She's like, I'm not here to do my taxes. And then she's like, it's not even tax season. And then like she does like a couple shots. She looks at the older guy. She's like, I mean, you could do your taxes early if you want. Like, I was dying laughing. Like, and then Christina Ricci did so good at being drunk. Just so many funny lines this episode.
How about when eventually Walter says no one answered. They went through your whole contact list and no one answered
Yeah.
until they got to W.
Yeah, very sad.
It was
Tears in
sad.
the chat.
It was sad, but as we know, Misty refuses to accept that truth that she is not liked by normal people, even the people that she considers her friends. And the moment any of her friends throw her a bone, even though they're asking her to help them, she'll come running every time. Also,
Yeah.
we can't go away from the bar scene without the quote, "I'm trouble. I've lit dicks on fire." And then
Yeah.
dousing him with the beer.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
God.
poor Misty.
No, it was very sad. Look, Frodo genuinely cares about her, and he wants her so
Yes.
badly to just kind of not move on, because I think the reason he respects and really is into her is because of her past as a yellow jacket in the woods, the survivalist, of course, but he also wants him to see your friends are not looking out for your best interests. They're kind of using you. You got to become privy to that and kind of move on. So I love Frodo for her.
It's very sad because there could be a conversation had about whether, and we're not going to do it because we're already an hour and 20 in, but about whether these quote unquote friends created Misty into who she is, with all the bad things she may have done with the box from the airplane and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Just being someone who's picked on and not really accepted throughout her life, and craving attention. And she breaks the box as soon as she gets some attention. And then she even, if you want to talk about more recent things that we're watching on this TV show, she has some knowledge. She gives it to Shauna because she wants somebody to listen to
Yeah.
her, right? She
Mhm.
wants somebody to be like, oh, that's some gossip. Like, great. Even though Shauna in that exact scene makes you go, wow, this is so sad, because of the parallels that you're seeing between the present day and the 96. Shauna is literally like, when I say Shauna, I mean young Shauna is literally like rolling her eyes, like, all right, Misty, get out of my face kind of stuff. And then you have Shauna being like, hey, Misty, can you come over and please babysit for me? Like, I literally could see a villain arc for Misty, and I wouldn't be against her doing it, because it's just sad. It really is.
Agreed.
I don't think she needs a villain arc because she's
Yeah.
not necessarily a hero.
She's a shero, dude.
She lives on the fence, man. She's both hero and villain because she's Crazy
Yeah.
Town.
We saw trauma from when she was younger in flashbacks of people that were not the Yellowjackets bullying her. So
Yeah,
she's been
right.
bullied, which led to her feeling like they needed her in the first few days of the plane crash and destroying the box and this and that. So I don't know that it was these Yellowjackets that did it to her originally, but they perpetuated it once they were there. So, and Misty's
Okay.
Crazy Town, but we love her to death. So old Misty, Jimmy's MVP. Good to know. Keep that on the books. But yeah, so moving forward, it's a lot of the Sadekis, Lottie, and Misty. So there's a little bit from episode 1 still with Callie. Callie's at school and she's hearing people gossip about the Yellowjackets, which I love because you really don't get to hear strangers gossip about what happened ever since the pilot, when they were sort of doing interviews with like Allie, and then you go to and like principals and stuff, and then you go to homecoming and Allie's again doing speeches with the PowerPoint in the background or whatever. But it's nice to hear what people think happened, because if you went to the school where this happened, of course it would be a huge talking point and lore built into being a Yellow Jacket and going to WHS. If you're watching, I'm wearing a Yellow Jacket sweatshirt, but it's great. And of course, Callie don't like that, so she postmates some guts from from Randy, of course.
Randy.
And
Little
no
Randy
one respects
cameo.
Randy, not even Callie. Even Callie's like, Randy, shut up. Give me the guts.
Right. I took a peek into what you ordered, and it's a little unorthodox. Randy, get on my face, bro.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Shauna, for her part, while this is all going on, goes to snoop around Callie's room, starts smoking some chronic. No sooner does she get a call from the principal. Oh, hi, principal. Is Callie okay? Hears about this. How ridiculous. It's just all so ridiculous. They're all unhinged. But I guess the next scene we see is her and Jeff talking it out while she's still high, leaving the cabinets open, like munching potato chips. She's like, Well, she didn't have a gun and a mask, Jeff. And Jeff, for his part, who was in prime form these entire 2 episodes, it's like,
He
Oh, yeah.
was.
listen, Shauna, our girl is not okay. Like
Yeah.
the stuff that she saw, her mom chasing or being chased through the woods by women in masks with knives, like, and then she shot one of those girls. Like, she is not doing well. And now this. And she let Callie go and get boba tea too. Just like, where
Yeah.
even is this girl? She just
Oh
like
my God.
relaxed. She wanted some boba. But I guess the next time we see them is when she's homeschooling Callie and she's trying to be like, so Callie, what happened? And she's like, you want to see? Here's the video. And Shauna, mom of the year, is just like, oh, that's not even bad. That's actually funny. Like a little bit proud of her, like completely enabling this little psychopath, which to be fair, it was kind of funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, listen, I took it as Shauna was like, thank God that this is just a normal, oh, they were gossiping, so I'm playing a prank on them, instead of
Yeah.
like everything that you brought up, Brian. She's happy that it's not really a trauma thing and it's just her daughter being 17, getting back at some people gossiping. And she's like, you know what? Screw it. It's hilarious. Like, and I want to go back really quick to Jeff when he was like, are we sure they weren't human? When they're talking about all
Yeah.
she's like, come on, Jeff, it's not human. Like, you can't get human things from Grubhub or DoorDash or whatever.
Yeah.
The next grouping of scenes, which involve Callie, are some of my
Mhm.
favorite. When Lottie shows up, I was so on. I was like,
Yeah.
we are so back. The Goop sorceress comes in and just lightens up the whole thing. Her, Misty, and Callie hanging out was the joy of my life. It was so, 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 so good. And going back, when they're at Lottie's camp and Callie's there, Lottie looks at Callie and was like, is that your daughter? And takes like a specific interest in Callie. And even then I thought something's gonna happen here. And she's
Oh,
looking
yeah.
at Callie a little goofy. And obviously Callie was trying to get alone with Lottie, and Lottie would love to get alone with Callie just because Lottie is a freak like that and kind of just like get into her brain and whatever. But I am so excited for the future of like Callie and Lottie in general. It just pumped me up all the way.
Yeah, the sleepover was amazing. Let's not
Yeah.
glance over the fact that, well, in the Ty scenes, we see that Taissa kind of dismissed a call from Shauna. So presumably she went to Ty first, no answer. Misty was next up on the pecking order of, well, boy, I need someone to hold down the fort while me and Jeff have a night out at a restaurant. Misty, I can think of nobody better
Yeah.
to keep Lottie and Callie under wraps. But yeah, the sleepover scene was amazing. I mean, it was Callie and Lottie in the skincare masks, but they were
Dude.
animal masks.
So good.
Amazing. How easily they're able to manipulate Misty. Misty goes right back to high school mode. I've never been to a sleepover. And Callie's like, it won't really be a sleepover without you. Let's have drinks. Oh my gosh. Like a bear to honey, Misty falls to peer pressure. It's just incredible. And then the truth or dare where they start, Callie wants to know some
Oh, she comes in hot.
answers.
She comes
She
in
wants
super
to know
hot.
some
A little too
answers.
hot, to be
Lottie
honest.
is more than willing to share. Chef's kiss. This whole scene, I completely agree with you, Kathleen. The sleepover scenes were everything.
Can we play Stiff as a Boy, Lays a Feather?
That's
But-
so classic. The writers' room were like patted themselves on the back with that one. That was so good.
Both of them in the mask was funny, but Christina Ricci as the Tiger was just killing me with just how Misty was acting. And just really quick, it's not a big deal or anything, but I did want to bring up how wild it is that Callie is just like chilling in her room with the cassette, and Lottie just decides as a guest to just walk right into her room. And Callie's like, can I get you something? Like, you need
Yeah.
something? Like, what the hell are you doing? You're walking right into my room. But yeah, the sleepover was great. Callie, not very strategic. I feel like Misty obviously is going to lie and isn't down with truth or dare. Lottie, like you said, Brian, is in, but she's also not really telling the truth either, because they both say, we didn't eat each other. This is crazy stuff. And
Yeah.
Lottie doesn't specifically say we didn't do that. She just says, like, stories aren't really how they're supposed to be. People
Yeah.
make up stories and, it's not the truth, but basically not saying like, no, we didn't. But Callie came in a little too hot, I think. it was basically just like straight face, like, I want to know what happened out there. I would have been like, truth or dare? Okay, Misty, dare. Go get me a cassette player right now.
Yeah, right. For
Go
real.
to your house and get me a cassette player.
I have two things. One, Walter's storyline in both episodes were your friends suck and
Yeah.
they don't treat you right. And Shauna invites Misty over just to be a babysitter, barely thanks her, just shoves her into it. Of course, Misty takes it. Then she's all excited about a sleepover and they drug her and put her to bed. I just felt so bad for Misty this
Oh, yeah.
episode.
Oh, my gosh.
It's awful. Like Walter's not wrong. Of course, we want Misty to stick around, so we don't want her to cut ties. But damn, they just Shauna specifically, and we'll get to it, was an asshole this episode, like to Jeff, to Misty, to anybody. But before we get there, and before the sleepover, so Lottie shows up, and Jeff is like, hard no way we're doing this. And then they're saying, you know, Callie was at the camp and she saw all these things, and when Lottie goes, well, Jeff did bring her. So, oh man, I was cracking up. And then the family meeting with the three of them. Oh my God. That is prime comedy. Anytime Jeff's in a scene, but Jeff, Callie, and Shauna, now that all three kind of are all knowing of the situation, they're such a strong, funny unit. I couldn't ask for any more.
So good. So good. And I get it. Like, Callie wants answers and she thinks Lottie will give them, but it is a little surprising that there's no hesitation on Callie's side of things about the fact that Lottie tried to kill her mom and Callie had to shoot Lottie. Like, she knows that in her head, but she's very welcoming to have Lottie stay and she wants to forgive. And I know that it's really just because she wants answers, but if I'm a 17-year-old kid, I'd be pretty scared, to be completely honest.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be freaked out if I'm sitting in my room with this cassette and Lottie walks in unannounced, man. I'd be like, oh, Jesus, get out.
Well, that's why she's smoking chronic.
Yeah, she's smoking that chronic. And
got to smoke some chronic to get through it.
And last thing that I'm going to bring up about Lottie, what were your guys' thoughts on the fact that we got her 2 episodes in? She just shows up at the door. Here we are. She's back. She's not in her facility anymore. Did you guys expect her to be missing for a while in the facility? Did you think they were going to bring her out because they needed her at some point, or did you expect kind of what we got?
I expected her to be gone a little bit longer, but I'm glad they addressed it. She said they can't keep me there against my will because the only thing they have me on is disagreeing with my religious beliefs. Other than that, I'm like, from a psychiatric standpoint, normal.
Right.
So they can't just keep me there. So it made sense. I was expecting a longer absence, but I'm glad she's back in the fold.
Me too.
Honestly, they need that wild card.
Yeah, I'm aligned. Aligned with
the
Brian.
Queen card.
So, and now we can move on to Jeff and Shauna's dinner.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I have so many thoughts. It's so random to me, but I gotta say, like, seeing Jeff in his bag was
Dude.
like wheeling and dealing and being a businessman. I'm like, this guy is hot.
I would buy furniture from that man in a heartbeat. Are you kidding me?
I knew you would. I knew
it. I would 100%. And I was expecting when we got the first half of the conversation before Shauna goes to the bathroom and then destroys Joel and partner. Joel and Joel. I thought that it was going to turn into like Jeff is wheeling and dealing. He's working his magic. He's trying to get them. He believes that they're trying to buy his furniture. And they were going to say, no, we actually want to buy the land or your store to build a hotel on. And then he was going to be upset because that's his livelihood. I just took it that way because in the first half of the conversation, they did kind of seem like they were like not as interested in what he had to say furniture-wise, right? And then obviously we get to the point later when they're just like, hey, man. And then Shauna gets them. But the bathroom scene, I was waiting for Ghostface's shoes to come down Kathleen, from the other stall. But we have a scenario where somebody comes in, stands right in front of Shauna's stall. Sorry. I was going to say cubicle for some reason. She's working
doing a little
office.
Business in there.
Yeah, she's doing a little business. Stands right in front of the stall. She isn't moving. Shauna's getting like, what the hell's going on here? Light goes out. Lady person leaves. Shauna goes into the other stall, sees the phone, no caller ID. She doesn't answer the phone. And then she just gives it to the bartender saying, I found a phone. Obviously, she's freaked out, and it goes right into her next conversation. Do you think that Melissa or Hillary Swank or the person wanted her to answer that phone call? Or is this just like okay, so you don't think it's like a psych out kind of thing? It was answer the damn phone, but she didn't.
I don't know why she didn't call twice, but I was think that.
Exactly. I was gonna say call again, man. It literally rang for 2 seconds.
Yeah. Or it was just to get her to notice the phone.
Right.
That's the other thing. But then I don't know, what would her intent be? Obviously, she wouldn't want to keep just this mysterious phone, or maybe she would. I don't know. Push comes to shove. She takes the phone, gives it to the bar, and then is like incessantly calling the next day, like, hey, did anybody pick up the phone? Any sort of characters you see? Check up on the phone. Like, I want to know. And I mean, do they say it matches the description? It's like a tall blonde woman.
So it's just the parallels to the scene where in 96, Melissa and Shauna are kissing. That's when they're also showing that. So you just assume, oh, is it Melissa? And that's just, But obviously the funny part here is, Mom, I want to see your manager energies. And she's like, no, I do not.
Yeah.
And she's still reluctant to be like, I want to speak to your manager.
I want to speak to your manager.
But yeah, like, so what a weird thing to do. Like, I'm just a good Samaritan. I want to know who picked up the damn phone.
Yeah.
But again, she's catching the breadcrumbs that there's something going on. Somebody's watching her. Somebody wants to talk to her. She obviously has no idea about the cassette or the package. My thoughts were that she was going to answer the phone there, and the person on the other line was going to say, like, did you get my package or whatever? And then Shauna's going to be like, what the hell? And then it was going to cause a confrontation between her and Callie.
Sure.
But really, what we got is still just breadcrumbs, and we don't know anything else yet. But she's just leaving signs. He or she, Hillary Swank, Melissa, whoever it is, just leaving signs. And it seems like she's only targeting Shauna right now. Like, we're not assuming, like, all those postcards with the symbol were Jeff.
Yeah.
So this new package with the symbol with Shauna Shipman, it's just similar, but it's obviously not the same person. And she's only targeting Shauna as far as we know.
Right.
And that could be the red herring. That could be the obvious answer. That's Melissa.
We need Callie to connect the dots and give that to Shauna. She can listen to it, but then she needs to give it to Shauna because we need to get going on this mystery for sure. But do you guys think that the two Joels matter to the future? Or was this just something of showing that Shauna really isn't like respecting Jeff? And don't get me wrong, the put down of them was so iconic.
Yeah.
Two self-made people back to back. Wow.
Own
and then she goes, I promise you, you do not exist. I was like, ow, come on, baby.
Yeah.
But it's rude to Jeff. Don't be mean to Jeff.
It would have been so easy for her just to be like a supportive wife for one night, chime in when you have to, otherwise just be a fly on the wall for the business meeting. She couldn't even do that. I agree. It was a little bit disrespectful to Jeff, but I think it's less that and more to show that Shauna cannot take shit from anybody. Yeah. Like, literally, she is unwilling to do it. She doesn't have the time of day for that, and she just won't put up with it.
Agreed.
And it would have been so easy in that scene with Jeff when he comes in, that sad scene when he's like, so the actor, so good, so defeated, so upset. Like, I you know that this was very important to me, Shauna, and all you care about is yourself. She could have easily just been like, Jeff, I'm your wife. They were being so rude and annoying to you. They weren't going to work with you. They were obviously playing you. They deserve this ownage. I was trying to have your back. I know you wanted this to work out, but you don't want to go into business with them. At least say something like that so that he's not like fully just like, wow, Shauna, you totally killed me in this meeting. You know, at least act like you have his back and you did it for that reason. Like, you're defending your husband because they were being annoying towards him and they were obviously kind of putting him down, acting like they're better. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it just really is about the fact that she only cares about herself at this moment. She's got the tunnel vision going on.
That makes sense. All right. Does anyone have any last things before we hop into MVP and Buzzkill?
I got nothing. I'm kind of excited to do MVP Buzzkill.
Me
I
too.
think I'm good. And I'll start. Obviously, my
Yeah.
MVP was Christina Ricci. So I just wanted to start there. Are we going to do both at the same time, or are we going to
Yeah,
go
go
through
ahead.
the MVPs first? Kathleen, Mari, my
Oh.
buzzkill. And she was my buzzkill. I just think that we've beaten a dead horse. I do think that Shauna was overly not nice to Mari, but I just think that, Brian, to your point majorly, Mari was given a little bit more time last season, and the time that she was given last season was her being a bully and her not being great to people, right? So they just kind of amplified that in this episode. And while Shauna took it to the max, I still think Mari was annoying, right? I still think that she was being not nice to Shauna. So
Yeah.
my buzzkill.
I can go next. Mine is a tale of two Lotties. My MVP is
Ooh.
adult Lottie. I just thought she brought an energy that we needed and a comedy, but Lottie is also inherently just such an interesting character that I'm hanging off every word she says. And then my buzzkill is young Lottie because she's just throwing Trav into some
That's
situations
true.
I don't want Travis in. So I love both of them, but Lottie's tough in 1996 these days because you rarely ever see her in a normal moment. So she's my buzzkill.
That's
But
a good buzzkill.
yeah, Brian, bring us home.
I like it. So my MVP for all the wrong reasons is going to be none other than Shauna Shipman because we are starting off hot
Yeah,
with the crazy, and I'm here for the crazy. What can I say? I love the character. I love how unhinged she is. She drove Mari out into the woods just by being herself, spitting in soup. Shauna, never change. And as we know,
Ask for
you
the
don't
manager.
change because we see you when you're an adult. But
yep.
my buzzkill of the episode is actually going to be young Nat. And don't get me wrong, I love young Nat. I don't necessarily think she was like a toxic character this episode, but I think Taissa put it on her radar. Hey, you got to do something about Shauna and Mari, and she was dismissive and let it escalate. So that was just kind of poor leadership. And I think it was very obvious that Misty saw the trap and she did a horrible job of trying to just be like, no, that's nothing. There are berries in the east, like kind of dismissing Misty. Like she should have had a better lie or maybe should have
Yeah.
played into it. And so I think that's going to get her in some hot water because right now Misty and Shauna are sitting on this very, very powerful piece of information that she might be protecting Coach that is
Yeah.
going to blow up in her face. I just know it is. So I think buzzkill is going to be Nat for just maybe making some poor decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
love
like
her
that.
though.
Yeah, I love her too, to be honest.
Same,
But you know,
same.
Young
Yeah.
Nat's the only Nat we got. Okay. So that's the episode. Apologies for going so long. I think we had to. We're back after a few years. We're excited to be back with these girls. We love them so much. But we'll be back next episode just with episode 3, which we'll be able to contain it a little more. But this was great. This was so fun.
yeah,
I'm excited to be back week after week. And yeah, so again, number 1, join our Discord. That is where we get
Yes.
to talk all week long about anything. It doesn't have to be just Yellowjackets. We do have a Yellowjackets chat within our Discord, but we have so many different chats. We're also, like I said at the top, covering Severance, covering Solo Leveling, we're covering The Traders, White Lotus, Invincible, all kinds of stuff. So link in our bio, go click that, and it'll send you right to the episodes. But yeah, we are the Dark and Twisted Podcast. Me, Jimmy, Brian. We thank you for listening. Bye.
buzz, buzz,
Buzz,
buzz,
buzz,
buzz.
Buzz,
buzz.
buzz, buzz.